Our world is filled with great wonders, many amazing structures and places, natural and man-made. Held within, many of these places hold incredible acoustics, reflecting the character of the space. So join me, Terry Oldfield, in the first of an exciting new series that attempts to capture these acoustics in sacred spaces. It's really wonderful to be here, and I'm so looking forward to playing my flutes and to see how the building responds. This monastery has always been a place of service to the local community, and after so many years of neglect, it's now reborn as a sacred space where all who are open enough to its atmosphere can come here to reflect upon the great mystery of who we really are. This is one of my favourite instruments. It's an Indian Bansuri flute in the key of E, and we'll see how this sounds in this beautiful place, the Gorton Monastery in Manchester. The natural acoustics are wonderful here. Well, Elaine, here we are in the Gorton Monastery. I'm really pleased to be back. It's a beautiful place.
It's lovely to have you back.
Yeah. I think it was a couple of years ago I was here, and it's looking wonderful, I must say. The energy is so clear and beautiful. A lot of that's really down to all your efforts.
Well, it's very much a team game, actually. This building wouldn't have been saved and restored if it hadn't been for all the volunteers we've had on the project. But yeah, I have to say, though, it is lovely to come in and just be in the space when it's empty and actually feel how different it is nowadays. In those early days with the dereliction, it was almost like it was damaged. You know, it was very dark. And yeah, it was quite an unpleasant feeling, really. And I think it was almost like the building had gone through trauma. It had been abandoned. You know, it used to be a place that was cherished and loved. And you know, there obviously was a lot of vandalism. A lot of things got stolen, and it was reflected in how the building felt. So it's taken us many years to really working with the space and having regular gatherings and spiritual events and meditation and music in here to get the energy really and the feeling back into the level that it is now.
Yeah, I mean, the way you talk about the building is almost like a person, like it has emotions and feelings
Absolutely.
and energy.
It's been very much like that for me. I have to say, when I first came in here with my husband, who was an altar boy here, he came here when it was a church, and I have never seen it other than in its derelict state now today. But I first came in and actually felt that whoosh of energy, the hairs on the back of my neck went, and I knew I was really in a very sacred space, even though it was damaged. And I have to say, a lot of people do get affected in that way. And in those dark days when we had no money and we were fundraising, because we had to raise £6.5 million to actually get the restoration underway, and it took an awful lot longer than we ever imagined. But there were some magical moments of divine intervention along the way. So I think it very much was a labour of love. But even things like a Christmas, everybody was going home to enjoy Christmas with their family, and you'd be thinking, oh, I hope the monastery's all right. So it was that sort of feeling that you were leaving it, and it should be involved. I think a lot of people who've been with the project for a number of years feel that way. There's far more to it than just a building.
Yeah, it's interesting that, because what we're trying to do with this film is to show people how a building can resonate in response to what you put into it. So when I'm playing the flute in a building that has natural acoustics that are a reflection of the beautiful sacred proportions that have been put into the architecture, so what's coming back to me is a direct reflection of what I'm putting out there. And
Absolutely.
I think you were talking about this earlier, about the way it reflects back both sides of the coin.
It very much, this is almost like a perfect instrument, and obviously the architects and Pugin and the designers of their day, they knew far more than we ever give them credit for. I mean, even things like the Gothic arches and the fact, the Vesca Pisces and the flower of life is sort of mirrored throughout all of the geometries. And yes, I do feel that. In fact, the whole journey on the project, which for me now is nearly 18 years, the whole journey has actually been one of understanding that what happens with the building is almost like a mirror and a magnifying glass. So if, you're feeling depressed, or if you're feeling angry, it almost sort of magnifies those feelings. But actually, if you're feeling joyful and loving, or even if you're just feeling calm and peaceful, it's almost like that gets magnified and reflected back to you. So there is an essence about the way the building has been created to connect the human soul with almost like the universal soul. So it's speaking back to you all of the time. And I do believe these amazing sacred sites have, they've almost got to be all brought back to the light so that we can make the whole planet sing in harmony again.
Yeah, because there's always been the cathedrals and the churches in the communities.
Absolutely.
That have been places where people could find refuge and find that reflection back of who they truly are, which is what is reflected in this moment of what we are, not an idea of what we are, but what we actually are. Absolutely. Rather than the idea of it.
No, it's really interesting, and because this used to be a very high Catholic church and was it was a very formal religious structure, it's been interesting to see how different it has become once all of the pews were removed, and there are remnants of the altar remaining, but this is not a religious building anymore. It's actually a neutral, welcoming, sacred site, and that's a very, very different feel to it belonging to a rigid church structure. And it was designed, we laugh about it actually, the secrets in the way that we even named the buildings. You go through the entrance, which would have been stepping straight into the sacred space. And as you step into the entrance, you become entranced.
Oh yes,
and
that's something I've never thought of.
As you walk forward through the pillars, and we've actually tested this in terms of the electromagnetic sort of resonance, and we've done various sort of dowsing experiments and things, is that there is definitely an interaction between almost the sacred box. That's and as amazing. You walk forward, it becomes more and more powerful. And of course, by the time, and in church traditions, as you approach the altar, ready to commune with God, effectively you are in an altered state.
Yes, that's nice.
Because you have walked through the sacred geometry.
Absolutely.
And you've walked through the space. So, yeah, there are many secrets to this building, and there are many more things that we need to talk about. And we have, there are things being revealed to us all of the time. And it's interesting that, we think, why didn't we know that before? Why have we never noticed that before? And it's almost as though the building doesn't share its secrets with us until we're ready. So again, that's back to, us being in integrity and a place of trust.
Yeah, a place of authenticity.
Authenticity, and therefore, the journey, the best bit of the journey of this building is only just beginning, because there's so much more ahead, and to be able to turn it into a spiritual sanctuary that welcomes people from all over the world, all backgrounds, faiths, beliefs, traditions. This is a place that, it's rare, it's rare, sacred, special space, and I think because it has been almost lost and then retrieved and rededicated almost to the light, gives it its own story to tell.
It's a true story of rebirth, actually, isn't it? Being
I
reborn.
suppose so, yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of my colleagues says, it's something we put on the website, actually, find yourself at the monastery. And it isn't just, come along and find yourself here. It's actually everybody who comes into the monastery, it becomes then an experience for them. Everybody is part of this story of the monastery. The next phase of the project is called Sharing the Story. We've been very fortunate to get some funding from the Heritage Lottery Fund in England and some good private donations. So we're creating a big community wing and education facilities. So that means we can be open every day for everyone at the end of 2016. So, and I believe you're coming back next year.
Yeah, we'd love to. Yeah, we're
That's
coming
fantastic.
back hopefully for the midsummer solstice.
I think it's the 19th of June, Sunday the 19th of June, and then you can be with us that week for the solstice. That would be fantastic.
Brilliant, and we can sing our St. Francis song, Make Me an Instrument piece.
That would be wonderful. He'd love that.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thanks so much,
Thank you.
Elaine. It's been lovely.
Thank you.
I love to wander around in a peaceful place such as this, where time seems to stand still. It's as though the very place itself is waiting with bated breath to see what the next moment will bring. I can feel an openness here that naturally draws everything together, creating a resonance that radiates peace in every direction. No wonder we're drawn to these places, where energies are able to mingle and co-create something entirely new, a living potential that can never be recognized as anything, because it's actually nothing. It's the sacred space that contains it all. This is my silver flute, which I've been playing for 40 years or so. Seems like a long time, but it's an old friend. It's travelled with me everywhere. And let's see what this silver flute sounds like in this beautiful, beautiful place, the Gorton Monastery in Manchester. I first fell in love with the flute on a Greek island when I was a teenager. And even in those early days I was drawn to play in places such as this, where the natural acoustics allow a magical dialogue between breath and form. The silver flutes have a very pure tone, which seems to resonate with the sacred geometry that the original builders put into place here, whereas the bamboo flutes and the panpipes have a more ethnic quality of tone, and these instruments connect more with the atmosphere of the place, as though they're searching out the emotions embedded within these walls. When I play here with an open heart, I am not alone in expressing what flows through me. The building is also resonating back the feeling that lies within these walls. And this is a bamboo flute from China in the same key of E. So this is the alto flute, and the reason it has this bend in it is to give it the extra length, otherwise it would be this long and it might be a little hard to play. So they put this extra bend in it to give it the extra length for the deeper notes. And I'm playing this in the Gorton Monastery in Manchester, which is a beautiful place of peace and harmony. This is a set of panpipes, and these instruments can be found all over the world. They're very ancient, actually. But these ones I made myself, and they're tuned to the Western scale. The most common ones you find are tuned to the pentatonic scale, which is the ancient Pythagorean scale, very close to it anyway. When I play the flute in a wonderful space, such as the Gorton Monastery, I'm expressing my own feeling in the sound, which goes out, and when this is reflected back to me, that feeling is still there, but now it has been magically transformed and contains the natural resonance of the building, a space that contains all the energy and emotion of its creators, as well as all the history that is still held within these walls. So in this mysterious dialogue between flute and stone, something entirely new is created, that intrinsically becomes a part of the atmosphere that is held here as potential resonance. The building is literally reflecting back a blend of its own natural resonance and what has been assimilated from the new input from the flute. It is a truly magical alchemy of sound that has the power to harmonize both man and building and create a feeling of oneness in this sacred space. If we search too hard to find a meaning in everything, we lose touch with the very essence of creation, which is the continuous unfolding of something entirely new, It's only the process of recognition that makes it seem old. But the real beauty of it all is that in the end, we may become open enough to discover that it is we ourselves that are the true mystery.